Finding balance between career and family can feel like walking a tightrope without a safety net. Many of us feel pulled in multiple directions with to-do lists and deadlines competing against quality time with our loved ones. But what if you could approach this challenge with clarity and intention? In today's episode, I'm going to share with you 6 actionable strategies that will help you bring harmony in your work life and your home life so that you can thrive both professionally and personally. Hello and welcome. Danette here. Thank you for joining me on the Shine First Today podcast. This is where we share tools, strategies, and mindsets to help you reduce stress, boost productivity, and create a life that you love to live and enjoy. I'm so glad you're joining me today. Let's dive in. Today's topic is one that hits really close to home: balancing career and family. For highly productive professionals who hold themselves to a high standard, this can be a huge challenge. Sometimes it may even feel impossible. When we are at work, we feel guilty that we're not at home. And when we're at home, we feel guilty that we're not at work. Today, we're going to talk about 6 actionable strategies that you can use starting now to help you with this issue. Over the years, I've discovered strategies that truly make a difference, and I'm excited to share those with you today. Let's dive into practical ways to reclaim time and energy while keeping your relationships strong. Years ago, I hit a breaking point. I was pushing myself too hard, too fast, burning the candle at both ends and the middle. I was not taking care of myself. And that's really why all of the panic attacks and anxiety started to happen. Over the years, I've learned some strategies that have helped me out, and that's what I want to share with you today. Strategy number 1 is to clarify your priorities. Start by identifying what matters most. Ask yourself, what are my top 3 priorities? What are the things that mean the most to me? A lot of times, especially as a woman, I am not only trying to keep my own priorities in order, but I'm also trying to accommodate my husband's priorities, my kids' priorities, my boss's priorities. We have all of these competing priorities. Sometimes we don't take the time for ourselves to understand what our own priorities are. What is the most important thing for you while you're at work? What's the most important thing for you while you're at home? If you can focus on 2 or 3, no more than 4 priorities, then that will help you cull out the things that don't fit into those buckets. When you know what truly matters, it's easier to let go of the things that don't align with those priorities. It makes saying no to non-essential tasks a lot easier. Let's go on to strategy number 2, and that is to create micro boundaries. Boundaries are a big thing. I heard about the term boundaries a few years ago. I was working with a life coach at the time, and she said, Danette, it sounds like you need some boundaries in your life. And I said, that's great. What are boundaries? A lot of times people think that a boundary is something you set for someone else. In my belief system, what I believe is true is that I can only set a boundary on myself. I can only hold myself accountable to a boundary. And sometimes we think in terms of all and never. I'm always going to do this. What I'm suggesting we do today is to create some micro boundaries. Just say, like, in the morning, I'm going to have a 20-minute space of time where I can sit and have a cup of coffee. We talked about that on the last episode, creating a morning routine that you love. So maybe you're going to create this micro boundary of one small thing that you're going to do for yourself. Maybe it's around thinking about your priorities. A lot of times we're going throughout the day and we're being pulled in all these different directions, and we don't take time to think about what's important to ourselves. So a micro boundary might be, I'm going to take 10 minutes a day to think about and write down in a journal, think about what's important to me. And a boundary, again, is something that we can only set on ourselves. Could you imagine if you had 10 friends and each of your 10 friends had a different boundary they wanted you to adhere to? So you have to remember, I can't call friend A past 8 o'clock because they don't answer their phone after 8 o'clock. Realistically, it's up to them not to answer the phone. It's not up to you to remember not to call them. So that's what I mean by creating boundaries is something that we do for ourselves. I have a really hard time creating boundaries around taking time off. I don't take enough time off because I'm running the business. This year, I sat down and said, what I'm going to do for 2025 is block out the weeks that I'm going to take off and block them into the calendar first. That was a big deal for me because the year can go by and you could end up at the end of the year and not have any time off. This is a really important micro boundary that I'm creating for myself that helps me balance my work life and my family life. And strategy number 3 is to involve your family. If you are the one maintaining the household calendar, maintaining a full-time job, having to get kids shuttled back and forth, having a spouse that is doing their full-time work, it often still falls to one partner more than the other to manage the household as well as working full-time. And I know when my husband and I both worked full-time and the kids were young, we had a period of time where it was like this. He started very early in the morning. So I was the one to get the kids off to daycare. And then he wanted to go to the gym after and work out. So I had to pick up the kids when I got off work from daycare. And then I had to make dinner. And he was really sweet. He said he would take the kids over to the park so I could have quiet time to make dinner for the family. My husband is a great guy, but at that time in my life, I should have stood up for when was my hour to exercise. And if I would have just brought it up and involved him in this discussion, he would have said, yeah, let's figure out a schedule. I'll work out these 3 days. You can work out these 3 days. He would have easily agreed that it makes sense that you have to take care of yourself too. Instead, I just went along with this schedule that didn't make sense because I didn't know any better. I was just going through life and I never thought about taking care of myself. So strategy number 3 is to involve your family. If you have teenagers, they could probably be doing more to help you. If you have young kids, get both partners involved and communicate your needs, especially if you're feeling out of whack, if you have stress, if you have anxiety. It's so important to involve your family. Strategy number 4 is to use CALM method that I am teaching to help you with major decisions. The CALM method, to recap, is a 4-step process that will help take the difficulty out of making a major decision. So if you have a problem in your life, a situation in your life, the 4 steps for CALM as a reminder. C stands for clarify the issue. A is ask for guidance. L is look and listen for the signs and symbols. And M is make a decision. So I use this method in my own life every time I have to make one of those big decisions that says, what should I do? Like we all know that we're not supposed to should on ourselves, which means We're not supposed to say, I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done this. Or we think about that in hindsight. We look at our situation and say, I should have done something different because we don't like how it turned out. What the calm method does is say, I'm in a situation, this isn't working for me, whatever's going on in your life. Like right now for us, we have two houses. We have one house where our work is and our parents live and one of our sons. And then we have one house with our other son and our grandchildren. We've been going back and forth since COVID, maintaining these two households. And it's gotten to the point where it's too much. It's not working the way we planned. I wouldn't say I would go back and do anything different. I'm really happy that we made all the decisions we made to get to this point, but we're doing too much traveling. It's getting to be too expensive, traveling back and forth as often as we are. And so I did this the other day. I used the calm method and I said, what is the issue? I asked for guidance and then I just let it be. And that's the beauty of the calm method is you don't really have to agonize over things. One of the interesting things that came up for me was my husband and I love to camp and we love travel trailers and we love camping. We had a travel trailer for years and years. And when we had started these two houses, we gave it up because we didn't have the time to do it. And it's something that we really, really love. So we are actually looking at buying a travel trailer and getting back into doing something that we really love. And we may give up one of the houses and just use the travel trailer. And that way it's going to give us more time for camping and we will rebalance how we spend our time between the two locations. It feels like such a good solution for us. Using the calm method is a really great starting point for anything where you feel like you have to make a big decision. Strategy number 5 is to make time for self-care. I talked about it in the last episode. It's one of the things that I really didn't do at all when I was younger. You can't pour water from an empty cup. You are not doing anyone a favor by burning the candle at both ends, getting run down. I got sick the other day, and I rarely get sick anymore. Since I've been doing the calm method and what I call inspired thinking, I know it's because I've been burning the candle at both ends, taking on too many things, trying to people please, which is one of the things I'm famous for. And I hadn't been taking care of myself as much. Taking care of ourselves first, like they say when you get on the plane, is put your oxygen mask on first. We have to take care of ourselves first. We have another episode on self-care. We also have a little workbook on self-care. We'll link to that in the description below. And strategy number 6 is to embrace imperfection. One of the things that caused me so much stress is thinking that everything had to be perfect. I wanted you, if you came over to my house, to have a good time. I wanted everything to be perfect for everyone in my life. It is an unrealistic expectation that can never be met. We can never make everybody else's life perfect. If anyone was unhappy in my house, I was miserable. Maybe because I could feel their energy and emotions, but I didn't know that at the time. So I used to try hard to be perfect. Everything had to be perfect. And now to have this concept of embrace and imperfection, to allow things to be as they are. What I've learned over the last few years is that sometimes there is magic in the imperfection. Sometimes you miss a flight and it's crazy because now you had to reschedule everybody. You had to do all these things, but then you ended up having a conversation with someone that was life-changing. There are so many things that on the surface may seem like it's going wrong, but at the end is like, oh, I wouldn't have had that wonderful experience if I had done my original path. So, what I think sometimes is happening is the universe is stepping in and helping guide us. Our best laid plans maybe don't go as we thought they would because there's something magical waiting to happen for us. If we overschedule ourselves, we don't allow room for the magic to happen in our lives. I'm really trying to be conscious of embracing imperfection, allowing things to be as they are, and not feeling like I have to make everybody else in my life. If somebody is unhappy in my life, that's okay. They get to choose to be unhappy if that's what they want. And there's really nothing I can do about it anyway. It's really one of those false beliefs that I can do something to make their lives better. I really can't. I can really only focus on myself. So, those are 6 real strategies that I use. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope that some of this resonates for you. And thank you so much for joining me today. Please take a moment, hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel and feel free to leave us a comment. I'd love to hear what your strategies are. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much. Take care.